going on, guys? GeoSnow right here. So in today's video I'm going to show you how to configure your device and how to set up Theos in order for you to be able to create Cydia tweaks on your own device and also to turn your device into a development one. So in order to do that, it's a little bit of fiddly procedure, so you're going to need to pay a lot of attention, but you're going to get it working finally. So at first, before we can start creating tweaks and before we can start learning how to create those tweaks, we need to set up our development device. Of course, it has to be jailbroken, and in order to install Theos, as I said, there are a couple things you need to install first, and we're going to get right into that. So this is the video in which we're going to get things together and working. So I'm going to go ahead in Cydia. And we need to, of course, gather the things we need in order to install Theos. Unfortunately, you can't simply install it from a repo and get it going. You have to install it to install multiple components in order to get it working. So let's start. At first, we're going to go ahead in Cydia and add the following sources. You need to add cool stars repo, which is this one in here, at http /coolstar.org/public repo, and then of course you have to install the to add the Theos repo, which is this one, nix.oet.net/theos. Great. Now you need to go ahead and search for a couple of things before you install Theos. The first one is Perl. So you're going to write Perl and install it from here. As you can see, this is the one you need to install. I already have it installed, so yeah. It has to be from the cool stars repo, so make sure it's from there. And then you need to go ahead and install the iOS toolchain, which is of course available in Cydia after you add that. So iOS toolchain. And as you can see, this one as well is from cool stars repo, and you can install it. You need to install it in order to get things going. And the last thing you need is of course the Theos itself. So you're going to search for Theos. And of course go ahead in here. This one is from Dustin Oet, so make sure it's from net.oet.theos, the repo, and click of course modify and install. And I'm going to confirm the installation. It's going to install. If you have a stasher, if you have the cool star stasher, make sure it's properly configured, make sure you have rebooted before you install the stasher. Why I'm telling you about the stasher is because we're going to need to download the SDKs, and the SDKs are going to be of course in the system partition, so keep that in mind. Right, so we got Theos working, but it's installed, but how we get it working? At first, as I said, we need to configure the SDKs. We're going to install the iOS 9.3 SDK. I know you're running iOS 10.x, but it doesn't really matter. iOS 9.3. Yeah, iOS 9.3.3 or I guess, or iOS 9.3 SDK is going to be okay, but in order to do that we're going to switch to the computer. You can of course follow these commands on MTerminal. If you install MTerminal, you can follow them in here, but I'm going to switch to the computer for of course much more speed and easier access to the device. So be right back. Alright, so from this part on, we're going to use the computer, and we're going to need to go to terminal in here and set up a couple things. So I'm going to make this a little bit bigger so that you can see it perfectly. And we're going to start the connection with the device. So make sure it's connected with the USB cable to the computer and it's jailbroken so that we make an SSH connection. So it's going to be like SSH root at 127.0.0.1-p, and the port is going to be 2222, like this. It's going to ask you for your password. The default one is Alpine, ALPINE. Of course, if you changed the password, it's going to be a different one. And we're on the device, on the root. Now, the reason we're going to use the computer is because we have a couple long commands that we need to run. And of course, you can run them on the mobile terminal, on the device, but it's going to, of course, require a lot of writing. And the first command we're going to need is to create a folder that is going to hold our SDKs. So the command looks like this: make dir -p Theos SDKs. Now the $sign Theos means the path of Theos, where is it installed. We're going to make it. Of course, we created the SDKs folder. Now we need to download the SDKs that are appropriate for that. And to do that, of course, we need another command that is pretty long. Now the commands are going to be in the description. I'm going to give you a link for iPhone Dev Wiki, where you can get a tutorial, a written tutorial for this containing all the links. Okay, so as you can see, we have curl KSL and this link in here. Now this link in here has by default has X and Y. What you need to do is to replace the X and Y from here with 3 and 9. So it's going to be iPhone OS 9.3.sdks.tbz2. So we're going to run this command and it's going to download the thing and it's going to put it in here. Okay, as you can see, it doesn't give you any feedback in here. It is going to only give you errors. If an error appears, it's going to show it up, but the progress itself is not shown in here. If you get an error about CURL, it means you do not have it installed, so I definitely recommend you go ahead in Cydia, search for CURL and install it. But it should be installed, I think, by default. Anyways, double check that before. And of course, we are done at this point. We need to go back to the device and we need to, of course, configure a couple of things in there. But before we do that, we need to run 2 more commands if the device is 64-bit. Now, only run these 2 commands that I'm going to run if your device is an iPhone 5S or newer. If it's iPhone 5, 5C, 4S, 4 or lower, you're not going to run these commands. Okay? Now what these commands are doing are creating a symbolic link in order to give us the ability to actually compile completely with no errors the 64 on 64 bits. So the first one is going to be like this. Of course, it gave me an error because the file already exists in my case, but it's not going to give you an error for you. As you can see, it says file exists. That's because I already ran this command in the past. And of course the second one is going to be this one, which is pretty much similar, and of course this one didn't give any errors, but this one did because the file already exists. Now we can go ahead on the device and make the final configurations, and then we're going to be able to run Theos correctly and build our first apps in the next videos. So let's get straight into the device. Alright, so one more step remains before we can turn this device into a developer one and we can make any tweaks on it. So we need to go ahead here in Filesystem. If you do not have Filesystem installed, you need to install it. In Cydia, it's completely free. Navigate to the root file system and then you need to scroll a little bit to the bin. Go ahead into the bin and you need to create a new file in here. Click Edit, click More, New File and name it Theos. And this is going to help us to call Theos just by saying Theos in terminal instead of, calling the whole entire path of it. Okay, click Done, and it's going to create a new file, but as you can see, it has that blank paper icon, which means it's not correct or it doesn't have the correct permissions. Click that eye in here, and as you can see, we have a couple info about it. Go to Sticking and go to Mask. Remove the 0644, it's not correct, write 0777. Click Save. Okay, success, click Theos, done, and as you can see it's now having the correct icon, but it's not containing anything. So click Edit, select Theos, go to More, Open With, and select the text editor. And now we need to write the path for Theos, which is going to be /var/Theos, like this, /bin, and /nic.pl. Save this. Cancel, done, go back. And now in order to test this, in order to see if the environment works, you can of course go ahead on your computer, SSH into the device and do it, or you can use the MTerminal, which is what I'm going to use. But before we can do it, we need to create our development folder. So go ahead in var and go ahead in mobile. I'm going to search for mobile in here. And in here, you need to create another folder. So it's going to be more, new folder. I'm going to name it developer, like this, click done, and you created your development folder. Now we need to call into that folder to test our development device. So I'm going to write su in order to authenticate, Alpine, because this is the default password, I didn't buffer it, change it, and now cd /var/mobile/ developer. Okay. We're in here, and now we need to write Theos. Now, if it errors out, it means we didn't install it correctly or we didn't configure it correctly. If it does give us the options to create an application or a tweak or whatever, we installed it correctly. And as you can see, it does give us the correct output, which is one. We want to create: 1, an iPhone application; 2, an iPhone library; 3, an iPhone preference bundle for the settings; or 4, iPhone tool; or 5, tweak. I'm going to go with 1 just to make a dummy one. Project name, write anything you want in here. We just want to create something very quick in order to see if it works. Package name, I'm not going to buffer. I'm not going to buffer in here either. Okay, so it says iPhone application and right, done. So it did work. So the environment is now completely working. This is actually it, guys. This is how you set up Theos on your device, to turn your device into a development device. In the next videos in this Theos playlist, we're probably going to get into how you can build tweaks. I'm a beginner on tweaks themselves, so I'm going to also learn with you. But till the next time, subscribe to stay updated, give this video a thumb up if it helped, and peace out.